Big Ten football recruiting as Ohio State wants to add a second quarterback to the 2027 recruiting class. They are casting a wide net at this point. We're not going to go super in depth about any of these guys because, it's just not really worth it at this point, but we'll kind of acknowledge the hierarchy system of where things are at right now with Ohio State football quarterback recruiting. And we'll acknowledge some of these guys that are either committed to other Big Ten schools or being pursued by other Big Ten schools and kind of get some thoughts on that as well. So if you know about Ohio State football recruiting, you know that they already have Brady Edmonds committed and in the class. And so this was a little perplexing for some Ohio State fans when they found out, oh no, why are you going after a second QB? Is Brady Edmonds decommitting? Is something going on here? Not necessarily. Now, Brady Edmonds is getting some attention from UCLA, and that is something that Ohio State needs to monitor. But Brady Edmonds has also been clear that Ohio State is his dream school. He has come to Ohio State. He has visited children in the children's hospital there on Ohio State's campus. Like, he has done a lot to go to Ohio State and get there. I don't think bringing in a second quarterback is going to convince him he has to leave. Now, if he gets a huge offer at, say, UCLA or something like that, or if he gets promised some early playing time, maybe we'll have to see. But I do think this is a situation for Ohio State when they want a second quarterback because they do anticipate that Julian Sayin will most likely be moving on after next season. The next guy up would most likely and probably be Tavian St. Clair, as Justin Martin will be out of eligibility. He ends after this season. And it looks like Justin Martin, we'll see what happens with him, but he probably won't even be the backup this season. Probably be Tavian St. Clair, but we'll have to see. Sometimes Ryan Day likes to have the backup be just the older player, just for some of the help and stuff like that they can give players. But I don't think this is a situation where Brady Edmonds is just going to decommit because they're bringing a second quarterback into the class. I think Brady Edmonds knows that if you go to Ohio State, you're going to have elite quarterback talent around you. You're going to have to beat out. And if anything, you know that the guy in front of you and Luke Fahey, you do have some stuff over him because you do have the body structure. You do have the bigger arm, stuff like that. Luke Fahey, a little bit smaller, but not exactly the size and height type of quarterback that Ryan Day normally likes to go with. Does that mean he won't play him? No, of course not. He'll definitely play him if he thinks he's the best option, but that's just not what Ohio State's head coach Ryan Day typically goes for. And in this world of the transfer portal, you also have to be ready for transfers at any point in time. Yawning there. You have to be ready for transfers at any point in time. Now, do I think this means that Ohio State's going to get a transfer? No. Again, I think this is just a situation where Ryan Day wants 4 quarterbacks on the roster. He wants to get that to happen. Now, some of the guys that he is going after the most, probably the guy that you would think is gaining the most traction, especially in the media and definitely from some people behind the scenes talking, sounds like Trey Taylor is the guy that Ohio State is kind of locking in on at this point. Dialogue is existing between these two. Now, Trey Taylor currently committed to Nebraska, moved to Nebraska to play closer to his school there. So he seems pretty locked in, but when a school like Ohio State comes a calling, it's really, really difficult for, a guy like Trey Taylor to say no to that kind of opportunity. Does that mean that Matt Rule and Nebraska are doing a bad job developing quarterbacks? No, of course not. Like Dylan Raiola, I do think, showed some good flashes last season and stuff. I don't think he fit the offense that Dana Holgorsen was running all that super well. And we can get to the whole backup quarterback battle and stuff like that with Dylan Raiola another time. I don't want to get into all of that right now, but I do think that Nebraska has some proof of concept here a little bit with Dylan Raiola, and they can point to it and say, look, he would have been better if he would have stayed his final year, and they've shown that they're not afraid to play a guy early on. If Trey Taylor goes to Ohio State, he's going to have Tavian St. Clair and Luke Fahey both in front of him, and he's going to have to battle with Brady Edmonds. So will Trey Taylor leave Nebraska to go to Ohio State? We'll have to see. It's going to be very enticing. And of course, Ohio State is going to make a very good offer to him. But it seems like Ohio State is prepared if that does not happen, because they got a whole lot they got a whole lot more quarterbacks that they're going after as well. Keegan Croucher, he is the Ole Miss quarterback commit for 2027. Ohio State is in the mix here. Now, Indiana is very much so kind of like the primary leader in this situation, if that's what you want to call it. It looks like, Indiana very much so, going after Croucher here and looking like they're the team that will most likely get him at some point. Now, he's still committed to Ole Miss, so we do have to acknowledge that. But if somebody's going to take him away from Ole Miss, it does look like that's probably Indiana. And right now, with Kirk Cinetti's track record, it'd be hard to not go to Indiana at this point. Maybe Ryan Day, Ohio State can kind of lure him away a little bit, but it would be really hard to say no in this situation. Some other guys you got here, like Jake Narra is somebody for sure that they are kind of looking at. Abrams, Peter Bjork, they were looking at a little bit, but he just announced his top 3 and his decision date. Georgia, Virginia Tech, and Penn State. I think he is very much likely going to be a Georgia Bulldog. Garrett Nussmeier's little brother, Nussmeier as well. Seaborn, Roberts, Baker, Haven. A lot of new names to guys like that to go after in this situation. But 2 guys that you do need to keep an eye on as well, 2 more local guys, is RJ Day, Ryan Day's younger, his son. So it's like not younger brother. RJ Day is Ryan Day's son. So, seems a little promising there if Ohio State wants him. But he also is getting plenty of offers from other places, Boston College, places like that, offering him as well. So this isn't a situation where it's like coach's son can't actually play, but I do think Ryan Day wants to be very thorough about if he is going to try to bring RJ Day in. And then obviously, not obviously, you don't know about him. Guy from Ohio named Colin Boff, Boff, Colin Boff. Now, he is currently committed to Bowling Green, where Eddie George is the head coach. And listen, if you're going to be committed to Bowling Green with Eddie George there, you're going to piece Ohio State no matter where you're going, right? So it's a win-win. But I do think that Colin Boff is another guy that Ryan Day did go out and see. That does not mean that he got an offer right away, and there's been no reports of an offer or anything like that. So we can only assume that he did not likely get an offer at that point in time. Does that mean he'll never get one? Who knows? We'll have to see. But I do think before he gets that offer, we would probably need to see Ohio State strike out with a few other quarterbacks before that happens. And then the 2028 quarterback, Christopher Vargas, was also thought of to be somebody that they might go after for the 2027 class if he does reclassify, but does not look like that is happening. Looks like he is going to stay in the 2028 class. Now, if you're a Big Ten team, you probably heard me mention a player or 2 that maybe your team is going after or interested in. Obviously, Trey Taylor, Nebraska, top 100 player out there, committed. He would be a very tough flip from Nebraska. Peter Bjork, he is believed to be going to Georgia, although Penn State is involved there. Penn State is also involved in Wood, who I mentioned, William Wood. I think this is something that's trending very positively for Penn State. But he did have an Ohio State visit, but again, there is no reported offer that has happened on that visit. So we can only assume that means Ohio State will be moving on elsewhere. And then I mentioned Keegan Croucher with Indiana. Brady Edmonds gaining a lot of interest from UCLA. He's considered a lock with the Buckeyes, but the UCLA program is keeping tabs on him, and they would love to get Brady Edmonds on a visit. We'll see what goes on here. And then Ohio State's biggest competition right now for Christopher Vargas of the 2028 class is going to be the Oregon Ducks. Very much so, likely going to be that. But in order for that to happen, Ohio State would likely need a guy to either transfer out or Tavian St. Clair to go to the pros early. Both could happen, but difficult to say at this point. So we'll see how this goes. Very interesting stuff here. Appreciate you listening and watching this segment of the Big Ten Huddle with some quarterback recruiting stuff. If you have any thoughts on Ohio State quarterback recruiting or any of these other quarterbacks out there, please let me know in the comments section below.